as we get going, I'm going to start recording because I want to make sure that this will be as valuable and as actionable as possible for you guys. We're 2 minutes into it, and I want to start jumping in here. I'm just going to see Tatiana is here. That's great. Sugarman, Chris. So anybody else who's been jumping in, and we're accumulating, people jumping in here. Just Tony, VMedia folks, Tommaso, just start putting in where you guys are from and where you're connecting from right now, just to get to know everybody. Just so I'm here, either Q&A or the chat. Chat is great usually. And one thing before we get started is any questions at all, and please interrupt me as I go through this stuff. I want this to be as actionable as possible. Please. Make sure that you put it into the Q&A or the chat, because that's easy. So Tatiana says, "Am I can only see my comments in the chat." So yeah, Tatiana, in the chat, usually you see your own comments. It's not like a group chat. But I do see all your comments, and I can answer them as well, and I can make this stuff public later, but it's not. Sometimes it's just not the best because it gets flooded with lots of requests. Cool, Tommaso, great to have you on. Thanks for showing up. It's fun. It's always fun to see your subscribers, people who use your service or even read your articles live on a webinar. So that's just always great. And so again, Q&A, you have the button down below or the comments. Just as I'm chatting, please give me feedback and things like that. So I'm going to share my screen. I hope you're going to see my screen. Let me know if you don't. So let me know if you can see my screen okay. In chat, looks like people could see that. You should be able to see like a little a slide here right now. I'm just gonna check to make sure the slides are here, and if not, then we can see. Let me see if you guys see my slide. Yeah, fine. Antonio says all works fine on my end. All right, great. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make sure that this is that we get going now. Again, as you guys have questions, please ask me along. All right. So I want this to be as actionable as possible. So here's the layout for the next 45 minutes or so, maybe half an hour. I'll see if I can get through it fast, because I know all of us are in the holiday season and we want to get through stuff as fast as possible. First, I'll give you examples of real media pitches. I'll show you how I've pitched and built a personal relationship with a big influencer or a big publication. After that, I'll show you an unconventional PR tactic. And this third thing is probably one of the biggest things. I'll be revealing a bonus. So I rarely do this, but I'm going to be giving away basically a 30-minute PR strategy call for folks, and I'll be talking about that. So stay on. If you kind of have something you can run away for 10 minutes, you can run away now, but then come back in about 10 or 15 minutes because you want to stay for the bonus reveal. And then I'll take any questions about PR that converts. Obviously, you guys seen the email and the coaching program. It's filling up rather quickly. But I'd love to hear any questions. I've been on calls and answering questions pretty much all day yesterday since the email went out, and this morning as well. So with that, that's our agenda, and so I want to start off with just influencers, right? We want either press or journalists or influencers, and correct me if I'm wrong. Just put it in the chat here. Do you want press out, or do you want journalists? Do you want influencers talking about you every single day on autopilot? Just let me know, like if you guys are yes. So Alfonso says yes. Chris, Brad, yes. All right, I'm getting tons of yeses in the chat here. Right, so like even Courtney says yes. Great. Yeah, this is exactly what I wanted, and I was just a nobody, right? I was just like anybody else. And you know, I still work in the co-working space. I still run my own company, and you know, I still haven't become the huge famous, you know, name for household name, but I've learned how to get press. And so, you know, I write for many publications, but we want this, right? I was imagining for myself years in the future, I could be a guest writer. My brand is featured in TechCrunch, right? I get interviewed on Forbes. These big influencers that have millions of followers end up sharing my stuff. And should I pay somebody for that? That's what I was thinking. Back in the day when I didn't know how to do this stuff, I was thinking, what do I do? Do I pay somebody for this? Do I hire somebody? How can I do all that stuff? How can I get on Forbes and Inc. and get publications to cover me and have myself become a writer for all these publications? I didn't have that much money, but neither did my students. So like I was just like anybody else. I learned all that stuff and I started teaching people, right? I started in PR Converts. We have over 500 students now. Brad didn't know anything about, you know, getting to the top rank here. And you can see that Brad is outranking Wikipedia for his term sales management. When he types sales management in, Brad now outranks it. And that was through a sequence, a whole bunch of different PR tactics and strategies he employed after taking the course and working with me and coaching him through implementing that stuff. And that's one of the big things in the course is, you know, same with Martin. Martin is, you know, we coached Martin to answer a question and get over a million views of his answer, getting 600 customers or so through some of these PR tactics, which I'll show you just shortly here, really. And same with Hero. You know, he has never written a guest article before, and he's written one that was on homepage of Fast Company for 18 hours, gaining him tons of visibility and exposure. And these are just some of the things that are possible. And the whole big kind of thing about all this stuff is you can do this just like these people, just like Hero, just like Martin, just like Brad, and just like 497 other students that I have. You can do the exact same thing. And I didn't know how to do any of this stuff. I was just a developer, right? And I was certainly not extroverted. So so I'm going to show you how I do this. But before that, just as a quick review, show me just a show of hands right now. Are you guys dozing off or not in the chat? Oh, cool. David is on too. Oh, cool. Okay, everybody's still there. All right, good. That's fun to have everybody on. Already have a question, so I'm gonna make sure I address all the questions. Is blog article, series of articles something newsworthy? Why would an influencer or PR person highlight it? How to find the right journalist influencers besides JRO? All right, so Chris, I'm gonna address some of these questions as I go along. But yeah, series of articles as guest writing is is a great way to get exposure and get publicity for your brand if you're starting to write articles. And how to find people who are journalists? Well, here we go, right? This is how I build relationships on a personal level with a personalized conversation starter. So before we start, like, who is an influencer or who is a journalist, right? The definition is actually much bigger, right? So Chris, you mentioned, like, how do you find these guys? Well, first we got to think, who are these guys? It's not just a staff writer at Forbes. It could be a founder. A founder could be a guest writer for Entrepreneur Magazine. And that founder, just like myself, could write up an article about you, right? And so all you got to do is build a relationship with somebody like me who just writes for New York Times or Journal or Entrepreneur or Time or TechCrunch, and you got an in, and you can be published in these publications. It could be certainly a journalist or a blogger, but it also could be an investor, because investors have a lot of visibility and a lot of connections with almost everybody, right? Or it could be a celebrity such as Ashton Kutcher, who I'll show you the exact emails coming up of how I pitched Ashton Kutcher. So again, here's Matt Mullenweg. He's the founder of WordPress. I mean, WordPress is a huge deal, right? Building a relationship with him might not necessarily get me immediate customers, but he will put me in touch with everybody I need to be in touch with to get that exposure, you know? Tim Ferriss, same deal, right? He doesn't have customers directly who are going to buy from me, possibly, but he'll for sure has all the media connections I need to get exposure, right? Gary Vaynerchuk, you kind of get the idea. It's these people are very connected, versus straight up a reporter. Christina Warren, she writes for Mashable. Relationship with her directly will benefit me from being covered. Andrea, she controls guest articles at Entrepreneur Magazine. So if I want to become a guest writer, I talk to her. I mean, very much of an influencer in my mind because she has the gateway to traffic for me. Neil Patel, Paul Graham, Ashton Kutcher. Paul Graham had a Y Combinator, and Neil Patel, a great household name in marketing world. But maybe, you know, if you guys are not in marketing, you haven't heard of him before. And of course, Ashton Kutcher, which all of us know, but for different reasons. I'll show you how and why I built a relationship with them. So an influencer who has an audience that might become yours, or can connect you to an audience who might become yours. And each one needs a personalized conversation starter. So just a quick show of hands. This is this quick email here that I'm going to show you. But just check in with me. You're alive? Are you watching this stuff? Is everything okay? I want to make sure everything is all good. All right. People are like, all right, still here. Awesome. All good. Thanks. All right. Good. Any questions or anything like that? Again, ask away. But here we go. This is how I build personal conversations with journalists, right, or influencers. Daryl writes for TechCrunch. Daryl happens to be writing about Hue API light bulbs. I do all this research and I find somebody out there who's testing out a light bulb API. And I saw the demo of it, and what I thought was that Daryl, who writes about Hue Phillips API, might be interested in this. I know nothing about APIs. My whole business is about my software, Just Reach Out, or my course, pr.converts.com. My course, I teach people how to do PR outreach. My software, I enable people to do outreach. As you guys know, those are the two things I do. That's all I do a day. I have nothing to do with Hue API light bulbs, but Daryl does. He's actually really interested in it. He's been writing a lot about it. So back in 2013, I found the very first demo of it, which I thought was very interesting, and I emailed it to him. And I said, Daryl, I found this great thing, and I became like a little assistant to him, right? I became valuable to him all of a sudden, right? Daryl actually used the video in an article he published, and it was valuable to him. So he said, thank you, Dimitri, and we started a conversation. That conversation has, evolved into a relationship since then, but that's how things start out. Here's a great example as well. This is the email that I sent to Ashton Kutcher. And it took me, let's see, maybe 12 months or so to compile all the people in the entrepreneurship space that Ashton Kutcher has mentioned. Now, maybe you guys don't know, but Ashton Kutcher is an investor in many startups. And a lot of times he looks up to founders and advisors and big names out there who built amazing products and services. And so he mentioned a lot of them in his speeches at Stanford and also in his tweets. And I compiled all of them. And then I went and I interviewed all of them. And then by the time I was done, it was a year later, I was finally ready to write this email. And it said, listen, I'm humbled to be writing to you, respect your work a great deal. A number of people who spoke at our speaker series, and I list everybody, have also mentioned you as well. I'd love for you to speak at my soapbox. Would love to hear if you'd be at all up for connecting. And he responds, thanks for reaching out. I'm a big fan of those guys. Kelly Donnelly in my office handles my calendar and all the speaking engagements. That's it. Very simple. So I was able to connect with Kelly and start building that relationship. So again, personalized conversation starter. And the way to test that, whether to send that email or not, is would you say that out loud? If you were standing out right next to Ashton Kutcher, would you say this email out loud? Would you say this to Daryl if you happened to stand outside, like at a conference, right next to him at a lunch? Would you say your email out loud? And if you won't, if you're saying something like, hey, my name is, Ashley, and I'm building this new app, and this is what we do. I mean, there's nothing to do what this person does, or maybe it does, but, you're pitching yourself up front. It's just something you won't never say out loud, and I want you to be genuine. So would you say it out loud? And if it's something you won't say out loud, don't send it at all. Okay, So I want to show you 2 unconventional PR strategies coming up. Any questions on this so far? Anything that I said that was kind of like make sense, didn't make sense? People are saying, all right, this was totally okay. Yeah, people, looks like people are in it. They're understand the stuff. David, nice to have you on there, by the way. David is on. He is actually purchased he's in the course right now, which is fun. Always fun to say. Tommaso says, say it loud. Very good point, which is cool. So Jessica says, in your effort of being genuine and sending unique messages, do you ever use templates in reaching out to connections? How much, Brian is saying, how much time does it usually take to learn enough about an influencer? How long, Tatiana asks, how long until many people use that approach and that becomes usable? So all of you guys are saying, listen, Dimitri, like, this is going to take a lot of time. Can I actually get this going? Like, and I say yes. So little thing, like anybody who purchases the program and works with me and we start implementing phase. So the way it works is usually you purchase it, you go through the lessons, and then we do one-on-one calls to get you implementing stuff. But anybody who works on PR, I say 3 times a week, 30 minutes. That's all I tell to people to get results in a few months. So that's all, very diligent, 30 minutes a day, 3 days a week. And Jessica's question is, do you ever use templates in reaching out to connections? And yes, Jessica, I do. But they're very much customized with a very, very high emphasis on personalized approach. So you saw those examples where Daryl's example was completely different from Ashton's, right? And I want to make them as personal and as valuable as possible. So the overall template is value, value, value up front, then a short follow-up to see if they saw it. And it's very different from person to person. So you want to be as personalized as possible. I shy away from mass email. I go after quality versus quality. Tommaso says, based on your experience, what is the percentage of success, cold email versus introduction? I'd have to know a bit more about, Tommaso, what you're doing in terms of cold email versus introduction. All my cold email is very personalized. So when I send out high quality emails like this, I mean, I might send out 10 emails a week, or maybe even 5, but mostly all of them will get a response. So that's what I'm trying to go after. I'm not trying to do 200 emails and do 20% open rate or 30% open rate and 15% response. Like that's not good metrics for me. It's like, did I get a response from everybody, whether it's a yes or no, whatever it may be? And my response is to get a relationship going. Again, I'm not reaching out to say, hey, buddy, can you cover me right away? It's definitely not. Or, hey, can I get whatever it may be that I want, right? I'm reaching out to do a bit more, right? So how do you choose who to target? Tatiana says. Well, Tatiana, it's let's get into the next part, and I think it'll be a bit more clear to you as we get going with that. But yeah, so here we go. 2 unconventional PR strategies. So here's the first one. Unconventional PR strategy number 1, Quora. Here's Rebecca Graham. And Tatiana, you said, how do I choose? Rebecca writes about stories that I can comment about, that I have expertise about, that I have some kind of knowledge about, that I can bring value to Rebecca on. And that's how I choose people I talk to. These are people that are journalists, they're influencers, they're bloggers. These people that I want to have a relationship with. And that's how I choose them. It's based on my understanding of a topic that I know a lot about and I can bring value to others on. So Rebecca writes about Bitcoin and other things, and I think I can really show her value. I read her article. I do snooping around. Like I have to learn about this person, right? As I was saying before, I want a personalized conversation starter with Rebecca. So I look around and I see this article. It says Confessions of an Ex-Tech Journalist. And in the article, she talks a bit about how she has gotten a lot of pitches. And the good things about them and the bad things about them. She analyzes them and gives advice to people pitching, and it connects with me, right? This is something I know a lot about. This is my entire course, 500 students in PR that converts. I'm coaching through a process of pitching, right? And I have 5,000 people that use my software that are on every day are pitching journalists as well, right? This is my world she's talking about. And I want a relationship with her, right? She writes for VentureBeat. So I go to a blog post on my own site. You can see the URL up there, criminallyprolific.com, PR for startups. And I add a little blurb in there. It says, here is what Rebecca Grant, a former writer of VentureBeat, has to say about building relationships first. You see, I take an article that I already have on my blog and I just add that in there, right? I add that in there. And what do I do next? I go to Quora. And on Quora, I look up pitching journalists. I want to find a popular thread on this topic. And this is how to suggest questions that everybody who's saying pitching journalists gets in the answer suggestions, question thread suggestions. I pick one that's seems to be popular, that's fronting up really high, and says, what are some rookie mistakes a PR person can make? Perfect. Absolutely perfect. And what I do is, not only do I want to promote Rebecca, I want to promote my own blog post. So I put in my own blog post about how to do press, and I outline a quote from Rebecca in here, you see, from the actual post itself, right inside Quora, right? And the next thing I do, what do I do now? I email Rebecca, right? I say, Rebecca, I'm actually promoting you twice, once in Quora, once in the blog, right, on my own site. And I gave it a tweet as well. And Rebecca says, hey, what's up? Thank you so much. At any rate, I'm glad you enjoyed the Medium post. I actually left VB to start my own, which is very exciting. So again, I'm building up a relationship because, I mean, even if Rebecca has left VB, VentureBeat, you know, she has tons of connections in the press. And if she is connected, she'll connect me if we have a relationship. But this is a quick little hack. There's a great example on employee retention, which I want you guys to look up now that you're in there. Because with Quora, there's a couple things that you even get further on. So go ahead and look at this thread. If you go with me live right now, if you go to this URL, http://justreachout.link/RET, go ahead, try and go into this URL. This will redirect you to the actual Quora thread. And the important part here is that in Quora itself, you're gaining traffic from Quora. So when you look up the topic of employee retention, this question of what is the best employee retention strategy, the first answer on there, Jason McPherson, he answered it when this question had 55 answers, and he was the very last one at the end. And what happens now is that he gets automatically, he's gotten over 843, I think, or some 850 views of that answer alone right now. And he's gaining traffic and exposure just by being the #1 answer in there. Now, that answer references other people, such as VentureBeat person, or in his case, it's other people. In my case, it was the VentureBeat Rebecca, but in his person, he's referencing some other ones. And the idea here is that he's gaining visibility, and he's giving that visibility and exposure to some of the other people who might give him more visibility by, you know, connecting them to their connections and so forth. So just like for me, I promoted Rebecca, and Rebecca said, well, thank you for doing that, and we started a relationship, right? The other thing on Quora, and I want you guys to pay real attention here, real close attention, is getting featured. So as you can see, and I think the circles here are a bit lower than they really should be, but it's right over here. So if you can see, you see how it says featured on Huffington Post, Forbes, and Inc. You see how it says featured on HuffPo, Newsweek, Inc., and Apple News? Well, guess what? When you answer a question on Quora, it can actually be republished as a real article on Inc. magazine, on Fast Company, wherever it may be. And I know somebody who works with our students on this stuff. He is a consultant that specializes in this type of republishing. So instead of you trying to think, oh, how can I get an Inc., this guy does it for you. I mean, he works with you to compose the best answer possible for this type of question. He picks the questions as well with you together, and he works with our students, and he gets your answer published as a real article. I mean, you can see there's links here to this this guy's Eric's blog. It's not even a blog post; it's really an answer, which is turned into an article on Inc. And so again, let's review this Quora because there's a little bit of too much info, maybe all at once. But you start a conversation with an influencer. Remember Rebecca? I answered her question and we started talking, right? I answered a question, promoted her on here, and we started talking. That's your number one. That's A. B, you start getting publicity from promoting your own content in the answer, just like I did inside the Quora answer as well. C, you get republished on Inc. And D, you pull in amazing search and optimized or organic traffic from the stuff because people are seeing your answer in Quora as well as on other publications as well, such as Inc. and Forbes that republished you. All right, let's swallow all that, digest all that. Any questions for this one here that we just sat through and you guys kind of were listening to me and I just reviewed? I want to make sure that this little nugget kind of stays with you and you kind of digest all that and understand it. Any questions about what I just mentioned to you now? Antonio says, I need an AI software that with deep learning takes as input all internet profiles of the person I want to write messages to, some checkboxes, and can toggle and generates output personal messages. Antonio, there's no software out there that can create personalized messages to everybody, and if it's software, it's not perfect yet. I've used a number of them. Crystal Knows is one of the last ones that I was messing around with, but software at this stage I feel like could correct your language in your emails. Crystal Knows does that. We actually do that in Just Reach Out. We will detect your messages and see how we can improve them. So we actually look at all of your emails that go out, and we'll stop you from emailing if we see that your emails are not being read long enough, because we track how long a journalist or an influencer reads your emails, and we make sure that people read them enough long enough to get value out of them. If they're not, then we are starting to correct your words that you use and things like that in the email, your language. Anybody out there, Tatiana says, how long until many people use the approach and then becomes unusable? So Tatiana, I mean, as long as you are giving them value, I think it's fine. I think when the majority of people start giving them value, I think that's where you have a hard time standing out. But I'd say, like, right now, 99% of people are just mail merging. Like, I got a list of journalists, woohoo, I'm just going to write an email saying, here's what we're launching, please write about us. And I'm going to do 3 follow-ups. It's like there's no relationship at all. So you always win if you're building a personalized conversation starter and a relationship there. And it actually gives you more and more results at the end. Like, that relationship you can use for all sorts of things, right? Versus like one small little mention maybe once in a while. How do you choose who to target? Tatiana, hopefully that was clear. If not, let me know just in the chat. And then it says, Tommaso says, so you focus on building the relationship first, have coffee. Tomas, go ahead and ask kind of more specific question around that. I just didn't know. Yes, you focus on building a relationship first. I just didn't know what you were asking. All right. Let's go on. Casey says, where do you find journalists to connect with outside of outlet research? Casey, if you can rephrase that, I'm not sure what you mean, outlet research. I can hear you. Everything is great. All right. Casey, Casey Gonzalez, if you can just rephrase that question, that will be fantastic. All right. We are pretty much in the home stretch. I'm going to jump in and give you the second hack and then reveal this bonus, and then we can talk some more. So here's the unconventional PR strategy number 2. So number 1, we got that clear. It was that Quora thing. Use Quora to get republished and get articles out there. You use it to connect with influencers and journalists. This is what you guys might have seen in the first video, but I wanted to show you a better example of this stuff. This is the lowest hanging fruit you guys have. I mean, you have to do absolutely nothing, and you can get exposure almost every day. You go to Just Reach Out or thousands of newsletters out there. There's Help a Reporter Out is a free one. There is Radio Guest List is a free one. There is ProfNet, which is a paid one. And there's we index probably a good couple hundred of them now, but there are thousands out there. We kind of focus on the top 200 of them. But essentially, journalists need people to quote in their articles. That's the whole premise for this stuff. And you guys who are sitting here right now can actually provide some input to these journalists and help them out write their articles, right? The beautiful part about all this is that journalists have submitted those queries and they're public. And it's just a matter of you finding them. And that's the problem I was trying to fix, a couple of years ago, because it was just taking me forever to find these queries. And I'm like, these people want to, possibly include my stuff, my know-how, my expertise in their articles. Why can't I just index that stuff? And so I started to, and this was the Just Reach Out. We index all those opportunities, but we also let you pitch journalists independent of these things as well. But either way, whether you use helpareporter.com or you can use some other service or just use this, it doesn't matter. What I want you to do is find these things, right? So influencer marketing, I typed that in and it says top Instagram influencer automation bots. It closes 20th of December and it says, listen, I'm looking for top Instagram automation bot services. And there's a whole requirements section. If you fit the bill, all you do is you email the person back, and the person is waiting for these types of things already. They're hungry for it and they need them for their article. This one was for Forbes. So if you want to be in Forbes and you guys somebody knows anything about bots who's sitting here on this webinar right now, respond to this one. It's free. I made a link. If you guys can follow along with me now, go to http://justreachout.link. And now this is important, /ENT. Those are the 3 letters, ENT. You guys should load up a page that kind of looks like this, which is press opportunities for entrepreneur keyword. And you'll see that there's podcasting opportunities. You'll see that there's multiple opportunities out there that you might fit. And so what I'd love for you guys to look at, mess around with is, can you actually respond to these? And I made this this link so you don't have to sign up, but you can actually look through these and see, if these are ones you'd want to talk to. Bookmark.com was a great example here that I kind of pulled up and wanted to show you. Is they're looking for insights from small business owners and marketers on latest marketing trends as we head into 2018. So broad and vague, anybody out there who knows a little bit about marketing or something about marketing might be able to respond and be on bookmark.com, which is a pretty, well-known, great domain authority publication. So a great way to kind of get exposure, right? And I want you guys to do that because it's the lowest hanging fruit, okay? So we're going to do a quick review. First thing, personalized conversation starter. Would you say it out loud? And let me know if this makes sense to you. Just in chat, just say, all right, okay, cool. Courtney says yes. David says yes. The other David, not David. Catalyst David. There's like 3 Davids on right now. Kevin, okay, so I think people are actually saying, okay, everybody is saying yes. So personalized conversation starter is making sense to people. So remember, Quora, right? Pitching journalists. What I did is I answered the question, and after answering a question, I emailed the influencer or blogger saying, hey, I promoted you. At the same time, I promoted my own blog post. And at the same time, I got that republished in an Inc. magazine, right? So, and I got organic traffic from Quora and Google coming to that answer, right? So tons of things happen with that one answer, with one strategy there. So this was a great one. Save this link, justreachout.link/RET. Remember, it's HTTP, not HTTPS, just HTTP. If you go there, it's a great example of a good answer on Quora that gets a lot of visibility. But we got all these things going for us. We got the conversation with a journalist. We promoted our content. We got republished on Inc. And we pulled in SEO traffic by answering one answer on Quora. And then the other one is what I was telling you to try. And by the way, I want you guys to click on here. You see this little arrow that's pointing to the actual article and not to where it says respond. When you click respond, it's going to ask you to sign up. The point of this webinar is not to get you sign up. It's just to show you how the stuff works and get familiar with these types of queries. And I encourage you to kind of search different keywords and maybe one or two and just see what these look like, you know. These are, and save that link, http://justreachout.link/ENT, and make sure that you can kind of play around with it and understand. This is your lowest hanging fruit. So these are the two strategies I want you to think about and try and apply as you get going. I can't teach you this stuff in an hour. Like, it's impossible. And I've been just all the time struggling with this very, very thing. It's, look, listen, I can't teach people how to build relationships in an hour. I can only give them so much. And that's, you know, that's why I just designed and built this program. You know, it's been pretty successful. It's been a year and a half, almost 2 years. We have 500 students in there. And essentially, this is the only way that I've been able to learn more about my students and also help them along, guide them along as they're starting to implement their PR strategies. There's all these courses out there just give you a lot of knowledge, right? The same as reading blog posts and taking, you know, a course in a university versus online. It's so much knowledge, but you can't apply it. So what I'm trying to do here is make sure that you're applying this stuff, right? And so that is essentially why you saw that email on Monday, and that's why I kind of, you know, sent an email out to you guys letting you know what the course does and how it works. We've had countless of these case studies, but, you know, like Ben Jackson was this young guy in Kansas. He's never done PR. You know, he's got a company that helps you develop, you know, pick up furniture at IKEA and send it to your house. You know, like, that's his company. And we started talking about his goals, and he learned these tactics and things, and here and there he learned through my course. And he was saying, well, Dimitri, like, I listened to a bunch of your stuff and it kind of makes sense, but I just need, like, PR. Like, I don't know how to execute the stuff. And that's where I said, oh, God, like, I know. I actually know, because it took me years and years to practice the stuff on my own. So I just you know, I want to hold, I held his hand, and we got him on, you know, Channel 5 and different TV stations, and he actually, you know, he's grown a ton. He's averaged, and that's the whole thing, is I want PR that's not just dumb traffic. It's like traffic that translates into revenue for people. So, the bonus thing that I was talking about is anybody who gets in the next 24 hours, I'm throwing in 30-minute one-on-one PR session with me within 10 days of signing up. So usually the way it works is I want you to get through that knowledge, right? I want you to get through those sessions, those lessons before, and I get that knowledge from the sessions before we jump on a call. Because a lot of times when we get on the call, I say, well, listen, did you look through the section where we go over how to guess emails? And you're like, no, I haven't done anything. And I'm like, oh, well, I don't want to spend 30 minutes doing that. Just watch that video on how to guess people's emails. So those skills are not there yet, but people are hungry. Like, we probably got 17, maybe 15 or 17 signups today, and people are saying, well, I'd love to jump on a call immediately. And I'm like, well, I know, but you haven't learned anything from the course yet. It'll be really, you know, hard, but I get it, right? I get it. People want to talk, and they want to jump in and start working specifically on their parts. So I said, listen, I'm going to throw this in next 24 hours. Anybody who gets in, who registers, I'll just throw this in as a bonus. On top of all the sessions that you get in your package, you get the 30-minute one-on-one PR strategy, just so that you can start right away without having to wait and get through all the courses, materials before we start on the call. I want to hear from you guys. I want to hear you guys in chat. I see chat is blowing up here. There's a lot of people talking, so I'm going to try and get through questions as fast as possible. We do have another 15 minutes or so, and then after that, we'll probably, be winding down. But yeah, so your questions, please, questions. I'll show you a bit more about PR that converts. I'll show you how it works. There's a lot of stuff in there that I can show you and answer questions on. But Antonio says, could you be able to prepare a flowchart of what you're explaining today? So Antonio, I'm not sure what kind of flowchart you're talking about, but I'll have a recording of this. I'll be showing the recording of this so you can kind of go through it very slowly. I'm guessing you're talking about Quora and different types of things. So possibly, I mean, I outlined the strategy on my blog, as well as I'll send you this video. For me to sit down and draw out a flowchart might be too much for me today. But I certainly, I go over the stuff. We actually put it in practice with most of our students. So with students, like if we were going to sit down, we'd probably try and adopt the strategy to you and what you're best at, right? This is just one strategy. It could be that this one is not for you. It could be that another one is a much better fit. So I want to make sure it's valuable and actionable for you. Lou asked, I'm working on early stage startup idea, have working prototype and early initial user with initial feature set. When is the best time to try it and get PR going? Should I launch first, get a few customers, and then start a PR campaign? Lou, so this is a most common misperception, and I hope you're still around. But yeah, you're still. Looks like Lou's still around. So most people think that when they launch something, they they are actually are ready to do PR. And the truth of the matter is, it's never too early to start PR. And I started PR before I even had a product. Before I had Just Reach Out, I already started blogging and building relationships because it takes effort and time. And the beautiful part is, if you don't have anything launched, then there's no agenda on your side, and you're not pushing somebody else to cover you or get exposure, right? You can actually build a genuine relationship as you're building your product and your customer base. So start as soon as possible. Start now. Start tomorrow. Start building these relationships, because it's never too late, because it takes time, because a real relationship takes time, just like anything good, right? If you're not gonna, if you're dating somebody, if you just want an overnight stand, like, it's fine, one night stand, but eventually many people want relationships. They want long-term relationships with somebody, and that takes time to build that trust. Same thing here. What makes you stand out of everybody else who winds up in their inbox? It's your relationship with that journalist or that influencer that you started building, and that's what we do as with students. That's what my team works on with you during this whole course, right? And you've seen the emails. So you'll get a few more about it, but essentially, PR that converts, we help you customize that relationship. So I'd say, you might be thinking, oh, Dimitri, like, you just want people to sign up for the course. It doesn't really matter when you start. It actually matters a lot. I'd say when people start, they don't understand that relationship that you build now could be used down the line, right? It could be used years from now, even, for more press and opportunities on the company you're working on in the next 2 years, right? That person could move over from one company to another, and they have all those connections at TechCrunch and Fast Company and Inc. and wherever it may be, and they can actually connect you through. So I'd say early is better because you want that publicity and exposure before you launch, right? You want to gain a bit of it before so you can launch to a base of customers. And that's how I typically have done it. And that's how I coach all my students to do it, is just like I did with Just Reach Out. When Just Reach Out first came out, all we had is just one prototype, and it just was on a piece of paper. And I was walking around, I was actually showing this to people, and essentially that's what I ended up doing, is I ended up showing the prototype and getting influencers and bloggers giving me feedback on it. And I use feedback as a way to build relationships, which is a whole other tactic in the course that we work on. Is a lot of times it's just gathering feedback on whatever your idea may be that will get you those relationships, with whether it's publications, whether it's blogs, and we had a question from Chris. I think, Chris, are you still up there? I think, Chris, you're still hanging out. Just give me like show of hand if you are. You asked about, doing guest blogging, things like that. It's like, listen, is a blog article, series article, something newsworthy? Why would an influencer or person highlight it? And the idea was, you might have misunderstood, but I'm talking about data and insights that you're writing about, and other journalists or influencers find interesting enough to reference, right? So as a journalist, even myself, I get pitches all the time. I write for, Entrepreneur Magazine, The Next Web, Business Insider. I even contribute to Forbes sometimes. And I get pitches all the time asking me to, cover people. And I write back and I say, listen, I don't write about dog products, right? I can't, like, dog food is not a thing I write about, right? I understand that you have a great startup and you have gourmet meals for dogs, but it's something I don't cover. I write about marketing and PR. Now, if you can tell me about how this business has grown through marketing, maybe that's interesting to me. Maybe you can provide some data. So you see, Chris, like, you turn that around and you have yourself a story. But essentially, you need to appeal to that person. You become valuable to the person who's going to be writing about you. So hopefully, Chris, that's clear. Lou says that's clear. Antonio says, could you be able, okay, Antonio, let me know if that was clear on that question about the flow chart. Casey, where do you find new journalists to connect with? Okay, so Casey, I think that was clear. You said new journalists to connect with outside of outlet research. I hope that was clear. Tatiana asked, how long did it take you personally to get your first article published? Name mentioned in a decent sized publications, just to compare the timing between someone just trying things and someone going with what you say. So Tatiana, it took me a while. In 2007, 2006 or 7, I moved out to California, and I was just a nobody. I was a software engineer who quit his job, and I took a little bit of savings that I had in my account and drove out to California with my girlfriend, who's now my wife. And we wind up in California. We're living in this Econo Lodge, and I wanted a job at a startup to figure out how to do marketing, and I didn't know the first thing about marketing. I knew how to write code. I was introverted, a bit overweight, and it took me a while to just get a gig at a startup, right? And then the next 2 years, I just learned. For 2 years, I just learned from people because I didn't have a mentor. I didn't have a course. I didn't have anybody who was helping me out and showing me templates on how to do things and strategies. I didn't have any of that stuff. All I had was just somebody who was my boss and said, listen, we need publicity for this thing. It's a startup. And we closed $6 million. And it was just him and me. And he was the number 20 at LinkedIn. This guy was, wow. And I was a free intern. And he was trying to push me to do things that would come to my mind. It's just random. Like, I would go and contact a bunch of YouTube influencers and say, listen, you guys have 100,000 views on your video. Can we sponsor it or something? Or random things that come to mind. And then eventually I've tested different strategies. So, it took me about 2 years or a year and a half to really get to a point where I was comfortable with the process of one tactic that was working. And then after that, it took a little bit more. With students, though, like, you know, with students is a completely different world, right? So someone like you who joins PR Converts, people, you know, month or two, you know, you saw that test, that note, and I have tons of these I can kind of show you more of, but you saw this one. Oh, cool, Tommaso. No worries. Please stay in touch, you know, on email. If you have further questions on it, it looks like Tommaso is running out. He's got a meeting or something. But I know you have questions. Just email them over. I'm always down to answer. All right. So Tatiana, so I was saying, like, somebody like Ben Jackson, and I have his video on the site, and you can watch that video. But, you know, they've averaged more than 24% growth rate for the past 4 months solely through PR. He took about a month and a half, you know, month and a half to 2 months to really start getting results, versus me, it took over 2 years for me to see any results back in 2007, right? So I'm trying to translate everything that I've done, the best of what I have, into a course and also a coaching program where I actually sit down with you, one-on-one calls, and I actually make sure you guys end up building those relationships and executing on that stuff. I do want to show you kind of, Tatiana, if you go to the course, and this is the live site, and if you kind of scroll down to the case study section, you'll see that in here you'll see people talking, actual videos, and what they were able to accomplish through doing PR outreach. And there's Brad that I mentioned before, but here's Arthur, who has a e-commerce brand. He's got underwear he's selling, and he actually ends up doing pretty well for himself. He moved to New York because of the publicity stunt he did. And there's a lot of people that don't necessarily never done PR that have applied strategies from the course that were able to, you know, increase their exposure and publicity by just, you know, enough to grow their business, to grow their profits. And that's what I want to communicate here, is that I love PR that grows profits for people. You know, David James runs a consulting firm. Like, I would not feel justified bringing him value unless he's getting more customers from the activities he's doing, so, or engaged in. So hopefully that's clear. I mean, there's a lot of like Ahrefs. You guys might know some of these, you might not, but a lot of these guys are pretty well known in the industry, and you can just learn from how they did PR through working with me by listening to these. So I encourage you, if you do anything after this, just check out some of these case studies, pr.converts.com, because some of their they help you understand how these people do PR and how they employ some of the strategies I've taught them, right? So at very least, you know, you have 2 tactics you can go try after this. You got 2 URLs, and you also have this this site, PR.Converts. You can kind of learn through some of the case studies these people have talking about how they increased their domain authority, how they were able to get exposure and get, you know, IC Cars is a perfect example. I've been working with them for 9 months, almost a year, and they've gotten pretty much every single publication out there, 180 different publications at this point, with their data. They pitch their data. So again, the one-time bonus, I'm throwing that in. It's gonna just blow up my inbox. I know that already. We're supposed to go on vacation with my 2 kids, my 3-year-old and 1-year-old, early or later next week. We'll probably be leaving, but it's just gonna make my vacation a work day every day. But I'm just here to help people do PR, and I love one-on-ones. I love learning about my students and learning what they do and helping them build relationships with press. It gives me tremendous satisfaction to help people understand this world, build relationships, get exposure, and really get seen, you know, be seen and get traffic up for what they deserve to be seen for, get that exposure and publicity going. And so with that, you know, I'll probably close out. If there's any kind of last minute questions, so people are still lingering, please ask me. I'll be on email, and I'm happy to kind of answer your questions offline as well. And I'll do my best to send the recording out as soon as possible. But yeah, would love to hear your questions as we wind down the webinar. If there's anything else, oh, we got messages and questions on the other screen here that I didn't even see. Doug Crow, the price. The price is, and I can, again, share my screen, but it's on pr.converts.com. So if everybody goes to pr.converts.com, please. So anybody who's still on, just open up another tab right now, please. If you're listening, hello, say, hey, yeah, I'm here in the chat for me. Just let me know. I'm here. I'm at pr.converts. So just say yes there, yes there. Yep, okay. So people, okay, answers are piling in. All right, so click packages up here, Doug. So you see that, see this link up here, packages, click that. So here are the packages. A good question, actually. The VIP Complete, and I say, you know, it's not only because this is the most expensive one, and this is the most popular one. It's the best way to work really together, right? Because I want to throw in as many one-on-ones as possible. And I really want you to have a full-on experience with this stuff, right? So it's the most expensive one. We have a payment plan available there. You know, this is the best of the best. So you get 8 one-on-one PR strategy calls with me. And these can be taken pretty much, you know, anytime we like them to be. With this one, you get that bonus one, which will be 9. So you'll get 1 right off when you sign up. Then the other one, we have 8 of them, so we'll schedule them out. Usually people will go through part of the course, but essentially I want you to get through the course before we start the one-on-ones. But the one-on-ones are designed for us to build a strategy that you can implement. You will implement something, we'll go back to a one-on-one session, and we'll see how well you did, right? I will correct you based on, you know, the outreach you've done. And we'll try and make sure that it's as valuable as possible. You get 12 months unlimited priority email to me, and kind of we have a Slack channel where you get to chat with me. You get a lifetime subscription to Just Reach Out, unlimited plan, which is crazy for me to do usually. So I probably, I don't know, like probably take it off after this launch ends in a few days here. Everything is ending on Friday, by the way. But you get private Slack channel also with me and other students. Lifetime access to all the modules. We have a large database in there as well with personal, like it took me years to compile this guest article database of editors that might want, you know, people who want to contribute to their publications. So that's the popular plan. That's the VIP plan. The slightly cheaper one, $1,200 or $1,300 one, this one you get 3 for 45-minute calls with me. And, you know, here you get some, you don't get all of it. I mean, I would at least do 6 to really make sure that you learn from me and we get enough time together that, you know, we actually implement stuff that is going to make difference long-term for you. But this is for somebody who's just wants a taste of it and really, you know, just needs a little something, and maybe they'll upgrade to the full one, but they can't. So they get 3 months of unlimited one-on-one priority with me, 3 months of unlimited of Just Reach Out. And so it's a toned down version of the most popular VIP plan. Again, this one has a payment plan available as well. It's monthly. I just can't do more than 2 months there, just because a lot of times there's people's credit cards default and it's just a mess. So usually people who are on some $100 a month plan are not serious about committing to this. So the price usually reflects how serious a person is to committing something like this. And that's why a lot of times I make sure that that's the case. And $897 is just the videos themselves, no calls for that one. All right, so let's see if there's any other questions. Doug, is that clear? Let me know, Doug, if that's clear. I love it. PM me the payment plan options or tell us all. Very clear. Still here for sure. David is here. So David is saying, "What's up?" Cool. Tatiana is out. I think we're pretty much done here. So some sort of consulting results assessment, retargeting, how to go. We'll watch out for the answer in the video. Thanks. Okay, so Tatiana was asking, is there a follow-up after the course? So some sort of consulting results assessment. Yeah, Tatiana. So as I was explaining to Doug, it's one-on-one strategy calls. So we do one strategy call, then we try to figure out what you're going to implement. Then you implement that stuff. 2 weeks later, we hop on the call, we figure out what went wrong, what went right, refine the strategy, have you implemented again, and then keep going again and again and again and again. Hopefully that's clear. Brian, the bonuses are a bit confusing. Are those in addition to the items in the table above? So Brian, the bonus, it's one bonus right now. And yes, it's in addition to the table above. So again, you purchase this one of these plans. This bonus is one session. It's 30 minutes, and it's in addition to these sessions above. So hopefully that's clear to you now. Anybody else? I think we're pretty much out of time. We're 3 minutes over. There's still a bunch of people that are on. If anybody who's on, let me know if there's any questions. Anybody else has any other questions? So in chat, just say, no more questions. Thanks a lot. See you later. Or got one more. Or I have to run, but I have one more. All right, Doug, you the man as well. Doug, shoot me a note. Let me know if you got specifics on what you're working on. I'd love to chat more and figure out if I can help you in any way. All right, so, all right, thanks, Courtney. Thank you, Julia. Awesome. Okay, cool. Tony, yes, awesome. Hawaii, see you later, guys. How much time does it usually? All right, cool. I think I said it. Tom, great to see you. Kevin, awesome. All right, we were just like winding up here, but I'm getting tons of chats here just saying thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, cool. This is awesome. We got pretty much, we're done with the webinar, and hopefully this was valuable. Hopefully the stuff I presented you can pretty much employ right away. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, say my goodbyes, and I'll see you guys soon. I hope I will. Anyways, I'll see you on the other side. All right, guys. See you later. Talk to you soon.